Hey everyone, hi, welcome back to my channel. I'm Shelly, and today I'm going to be talking about all of the books that I've acquired recently. These are just the books that I've either been gifted or have picked up since my last book haul, and I'm excited to share with you. So if you also like to buy books or see what's going down with books, if you're a bookish person, I would love for you to subscribe and stick around. Otherwise, let's go ahead and get into the meat of this video. Just yesterday, I finished my first Elizabeth George, and she was fantastic. She's a murder mystery writer with one very long-standing series, and then I think another series that is not as long-standing. Elizabeth George has been writing the Inspector Lynley series since 1988, and her most recent book in that series came out just last year, I believe. And so she has like 20 some odd books in this series, and I really liked it. It was a solid mystery, slow moving with an emphasis on character development and a little bit gritty. So, and also in the first book, there is a particular kind of grittiness that I don't care for, but I have it on good authority that she doesn't go down that rabbit trail again. So it was like forgivable for this first book, and then I've again heard from mega fans of hers that this is the only time that she goes in that direction of grittiness, though the books still remain gritty. Okay, I'm gonna stop using the word gritty, and I wanted to let you all know that after I finished, or as I was finishing up the first Elizabeth George book, I was like, well, I'm just gonna see if my library book sale corner at the library has any Elizabeth Georges, and I'm going to see if any of my Goodwills have Elizabeth George, because she does pop up there. And I found two. I found book 8 in the series, which is Deception on His Mind, and I found book 18, I believe, and it's The Punishment She Deserves. I've heard that her books just get better, more character focused. I've just heard amazing things, and so I'm happy to have 2 more Georges in my life. While hunting around at the library, I actually found another book that I saw very recently on Kelly from Books I'm Not Reading's channel, and it is My Name is Asher Lev by Chaim Potok, and this is about a young boy, I believe, who is really into art or sees things in a very artistic way, and that brushes up against his community, and his community is a Hasidic Jewish community in New York. And I believe it's in New York. Yes, in New York, or in Brooklyn, New York, to be even more specific. I heard Kelly talk about it. I have a particular interest in this topic. I love books about art, about artists, and I have a keen interest in learning more about Judaism and the Jewish communities here in the U.S. And so I thought this would be perfect. And of course, with a great review from Kelly, I was like, why not? Why not? It was 50 cents at my library book sale. Then when I was at all of those Goodwills, I came across a book that I was like, do I really want this? Oh no. But it's Steinbeck's East of Eden. Not The Grapes of Wrath. It's East of Eden. I have read some Steinbeck. I like some of it. I like that he writes about Central California, and that's where I am from. That's my origin. That is where I was born and grew up. And so the landscape for which he describes is very familiar. I can easily conjure it up. And I do think his writing is very beautiful. I read his short story collection. They're like, what did they call them? Intertwined short stories. Like, they did follow a theme, but I read The Red Pony, and I don't know, it was okay. But I figured I should probably try again, and I found this at the Goodwill for like $2. It is in beautiful, perfect condition. We have Steinbeck on the back of the cover looking all curmudgeoned and serious, and I was like, I'm just gonna try. I'm just gonna try this 800-page book. It's no big deal. just a weekly read for me. In early March, very early March, it was my birthday. And so I had my parents send me a book, and the book that they sent me was Sirens and Muses. I did a book cover recreation of this book because I found it so gorgeous. This is Olive at a Book Olive. This was her favorite fiction book of last year. It talks about art. It's supposed to have incredible characters. Are we seeing a theme in my reading? So I was like, yes. Yes. And so anyways, I really wanted this, and so I requested it, and my parents very, very, very kindly picked it up as a birthday gift for me. And then a friend sent me 3 books because he knows that I was interested in mysteries. One of which I also I tried to at least recreate the book cover of Daughters of the Lake by Wendy Webb. I love this cover. I just love how dark and mysterious it is. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I have a small series on my shorts tab. I don't even know how you get there. On the shorts video that are like a minute or less, that are me recreating book covers. And so I've done 3 or 4. It's really enjoyable. I've paused it for now, but I will get back to it. I'm working on another one, but things take time, and there's only so many hours in a day. So Daughters of the Lake by Wendy Webb. And this is supposed to be a dual timeline mystery. And my friend knows I am a huge fan of Steve Donahue's recommendations. And so all the mysteries that he bought me were Steve Donahue approved. And the next Steve Donahue approved book, which was so funny because, like, according to the cover, this is not something I would ever pick up for myself, like, ever. And he knew that. And it was, anyways. So it says Scott Van Doviak, Charles Gate Confidential. And it's supposed to be like heisty, I think. It's supposed to be heisty about art. Let me see. I was right. In 1946, a group of criminals pulls off the heist of the century, stealing a dozen pieces of priceless works of art from the Boston Museum. Some of the thieves are captured, some are killed, but the loot is never found. Sounds good. Anyway, so this looks great. Kind of a spicy cover right here. A little bit of a racy cover. That's okay. That's okay. No judgment. But I was judging the book by its cover, and I was like, all right, it's cool. The final book that this friend sent me was The Bengalese Detective Club, and this is by Harini Nagendra, and this is, of course, set in Bangalore, and I don't know much about it, so this is what it says. When clever, headstrong Kaveri moves to Bangalore to marry handsome young Dr. Ramu, she's resigned herself to a quiet life. Ooh, and then I have a feeling the life doesn't get so quiet or doesn't stay that way. So I have this book, and this is the first in a series, I believe. But I'm excited. Ooh, is this set? Oh, it's set in 1920s India. That's great. It's great. I didn't realize it was set in the 1920s part. That's awesome. So I'm excited for this. Have you all read any of these mysteries, and can you tell me about them if you have? Just curious. With some birthday money, I picked up a book that Gloria Z. Thompson cried about. She did cry about it, but she recommended it super highly because it was such an emotionally pulling and just a beautiful book. And it is Penguin the Magpie, the odd little bird who saved a family. And this is by Cameron Bloom and Bradley Trevor Grieve. And this is about the story of a family who is being like cared for by, it is about a penguin who is being cared for by a family, and I believe it brings the family closer together. And it is one that tells the story in photographs and in prose work, and I'm just really excited to get into it. There are 2 more books to talk about. The first is a book of 2 short stories by the George Eliot. So George Eliot has shot up to the top of my list of an author that I want to read more of. And this is her short stories or maybe novellas. I'm not exactly sure how they're classified. The Painted Veil and Brother Jacob. This I found at a little corner sale, corner library sale. All of my libraries are sell books off to the side to continue to have income to support the library. And so I can go in at to my library at any given time and see what they're selling. It's not a huge selection, but depending on the library that you go to or that I go to, the selection varies, and sometimes you get little gems like this. The final book is from a writer that I don't really hear a ton about, and I would love to know if you all have heard of her, if you've read her. I'm curious. I'm so curious. And the writer is Elizabeth Bowen. And the house is the book is The House is The Book in Paris. No, the book is The House in Paris. And I have seen this sitting at the corner of my library book sale for ages. And I was like, if I ever have an extra $1 on me, I am going to pick it up because I've heard of Elizabeth Bowen and I feel like I've heard good things. Not really sure, but you know, it was only like $1 to my library, and so I don't mind picking it up to support them. And if I don't end up reading it, I will donate it to a little free library. It's just not too big of a deal. But if you know anything about Elizabeth Bowen, will you let me know? I'm just like, I don't know anything about her, but I feel like maybe she's a writer for me. Let's see. It is a story as subtly plotted as it is beautifully told. Elizabeth Bowen crystallizes the disturbing relationship between children, sex, and love. Oh gosh, okay. I don't know about that. 2 children, strangers, wait in a house in Paris. Leopard for his mother, whom he's never seen. Henrietta for a train. Upstairs, an old woman lies dying, and her sad, unfulfilled daughter flutters hopelessly round her, slowly exposing the apprehensions of the children and the reasons for their presence in the house. Elizabeth Bowen releases all her psychological insight, her charmed prose, and unerring feel for atmosphere into a masterpiece of delicacy and restraint. So I'm getting the fact that it's real slow and it's beautiful, but it's going to be real slow. So I guess for readers who don't like real slow books, she's not going to be for you. But for those of you who know something about her, please spill the tea. I must know. Okay, I'm gonna stop. I think that is it. I saved a little bonus for last, and this little bonus is from my father-in-law, who sends me in the family picture books from time to time, and I ought to read it this month because it's Picture This 2023, where we celebrate the reading of picture books. And so I have little Anno's 3 Little Pigs, and this is by Matsumasa Anno and Tayoshi Mori. I don't know much about the book. I actually don't know anything. But I do know, wait a second. I do know something about the book. I like the illustrations. They look like they're done in watercolor. And I know this is a series. This is one in a series. So yeah, I was excited to see this because I quite like the illustrations. I love anything in watercolor. I'm a sucker for watercolor illustrations. If you really want to get me in the feels, just send me a book that has some watercolor and I will just really love it. I mean, I don't know where I was going with that. And he also sent me Mrs. Dunphy's Dog, and this is by Catherine O'Neill. It's so funny because in this kind of illustration style is very passé. It is really, it reminds me of a generation before. I find it so interesting that illustration styles go in and out of fashion. So this just reminds me of like something that you might see in the 90s. Yeah, and the colors and everything. It just reminds me of like a very 90s heavy illustrative style. All right, so that's it from me. What have you bought recently? Tell me about your new books or books that you've read. I'm just, I'd love to hear from y'all. But yeah, that's it for me. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here and spending this time with me. I really appreciate it. And we'll see you all in my next one. Bye.